What's up, guys? So I got like 8 days till I gotta go in. I just wanted to give y'all a little insight to it all. So let's say I didn't have motion, you know, but a guy was on Facebook, a guy who was the big brother of a guy that I knew my whole life, you know, just about, you know. We used to ride the bus together when we were little, play Pokemon on the bus, all that good stuff. Stayed in touch with him when I was older, you know, that type of stuff. Well, anyway, dude got kicked out of his house apparently, was homeless, and it was back in like February or something. I'm not good with dates, but I think it was around February or something. And I felt bad for dude, you know, it's cold outside, all this. I hit him up because I seen it on Facebook, and I told him, if you can make it out to my crib, you can stay in the garage, man. I got, you know, a mattress out there, and, you know, you can do a fire and all this. He's like, you got a couch? I was like, I do, man, but I got, you know, kids inside as well, and I don't know you well enough to let you be in the house while me and my kids are asleep, you know, even though I know your brother. Well, long story shorter, he ends up not coming. A couple of days later, you know, he's talking, asking if we smoke and all this. I kind of left him on red. A couple more days pass. You know, I see him still on Facebook. You know, I ask him how he's doing and stuff like that. Then he calls me out the blue. And he's telling me his uncle or papaw or something's drunk. He's like, he's drunker than shit, and he's got all this money, and I'm trying to make something, blah, blah, blah. And I'm homeless, all this stuff, and you can make some money too, and all that. And I was like, all right, I'll see what I can do. He said, even if it's a little bit, you know, I'm trying to make it come up. Well, I seen what I could do, couldn't do much for him. He said, well, you can put some salt in the bag, bro, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. He texted me that, you know, and I didn't reply to it because I guess I was asleep or something like that. And before I could even see that message or reply to it, he done said something like, let me just show up, bro, you don't even have to do nothing, and blah, blah, blah. Well, I ended up letting him come by, and in the buy videos, you see the camera goes completely black. Like, it shows him knocking on the door for like 30 minutes. Finally, I come to the door, we walk out, you know, make a small talk, we go to the garage, all of a sudden the camera goes black. You hear like scuffling around in his pants and all this shit. All of a sudden the camera's back on, and now there's a bag in his hand, you know, and we're talking about other dumb shit, and blah, blah, blah. He ends up leaving. Does it again. 2 more times, separate days, you know, a couple days apart. About a week after these 3 buys, the camera goes black in every single one before anything is, you know, alleged to happen, and the camera comes back on, he has something in his hand each time. Well, them 3 buys were allegedly cocaine, meth, and fentanyl. They end up, I got a ride, came, picked me up. We're about to do our trip. We get not even a mile from my house, we get pulled over. It's not a normal traffic stop. The cop, it's the sheriff for the sheriff's department, comes up to the window of the driver's side, says, y'all put your hands up. Our hands are like up on the dash. He leans in, sees me, and he talks on his radio. He's like, subjects in the passenger seat. I'm like, oh shit, what done happened? You know, next thing you know, there's a task force for narcotics task force up by my window getting me out. Sheriff puts me in his truck. He's asking me all these questions and shit. Said they've been watching me and all this for a couple weeks. You know, well, ends up taking me and my fiance back to our crib. My fiance tried recording the whole event, and they were taking the phone from her. She was moving her hand around, not letting them have the phone. I said, Serena, give them the phone so they don't charge you with no bullshit. They ended up charging us some bullshit anyway, but I got all the serious shit. She ends up giving them the phone so we could record. They come in the... Alright, so we get to the house. They're threatening to break the door down and all this shit. She's like, I'll open the door. Opens the door. Our kids are there asleep. Her mom was living with us at the time. She lived with us for about 6 months. Kids were there asleep. Her mom was in the living room or something. All we had was, I think we had 3 trays with straws on them, and we had them put up in the closet. You know, the kids didn't know nothing about this. They were only 5 and 6 at the time, and they're 6 and 7 now. Every time I say it, they be like 6, 7, 6, 7. Every time I say how old they are now. But anyway, they're so we take them straight to where the stuff's at. They pull the trays down. There's a Suboxone tray, a Coke tray, and a Fetty tray. The Suboxone tray was like all dusty and shit, you know, where we ain't used it fucking forever. And the Coke tray was like fully cleaned off, like the straw had already been scraped, all that shit. The Fetty tray was pretty much the same condition, it was dry, you know. And anyway, they didn't really find what they wanted, you know. They got pissed, took me back outside, said they forgot to read the search warrant. So he takes me outside the door so I can read the search warrant before he goes back in and searches some more. He's asking me all these questions and shit, and I'm like, I wish I could help, man, but I really don't know. And then ends up taking me outside. You know, I'm already thinking that I'm about to be gone for a long time because they told me they're investigating me for selling fentanyl. Well, he takes me outside and he's asking me all these questions. I'm driving, by the way, but if you can't tell. But he ends up taking me outside. He's like basically trying to flip me and give me the rat and all this shit. And at this point, I didn't really know who got me. You know, I had a couple of assumptions, but I didn't find out who it really was, so I got the motion of discovery. But anyway, he takes me outside. He's like trying to flip me and shit. I considered it, I ain't gonna lie, like, you know, I wasn't, no snitching, blah, 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 but whenever it came down to it, bro, and you think you're gonna be gone for, and, you know, I considered it. I got kids and shit, you know, my girl, I'm, like, the main provider, like, financially for them, you know, but at the end of the day, I didn't snitch, but then everything I love, I didn't snitch, I didn't help them, and I think that's why they, you know, wouldn't work with me on probation or not, man, even though it was, like, my first serious offense and all that. And then, yeah, I think it's pretty much the gist of it. They ended up arresting me, and they charged me with trafficking meth and child endangerment because the house wasn't, you know, I had cans everywhere because we collect cans, and I would rinse them out before I would take them out to the garage in a bag. Like, I would rinse them out, crush them, put them in a Walmart bag, then take them out to the garage, tie it up, throw it in. You know, and I had a bunch, like, in the bathroom sink. Like, so you didn't see them when you first walked in, but if you went to the bathroom, I had, like, a bunch of cans that had been rinsed out, because I didn't like put them out there, like, still sticky, because you attract ants and shit. And then there's toys everywhere, but for some reason that granted wanted endangerment, or whatever the charge was for the kids. They charged my girl with it, so that was her only charge, one endangerment. They got me with trafficking meth and one endangerment. They said they were waiting on lab results for the other drugs, and that was part of how they were threatening me to flip and work with them, was where I wouldn't work with them. They were like, well, I guess we'll see how the lab results, you know, blah, blah, blah. We got indictments going out tomorrow and this and that. Well, I go to jail. I'm on a $10,000 bond. I'm in there for about 7 or 8 days. I end up bonding out once my lawyer got it down to $2,500. Bonded out. About a month or so later, they indicted me, and now they got me on, like, some more charges. Now they got me on trafficking cocaine, 3 accounts of trafficking meth. I mean, not meth. 3 accounts of trafficking fentanyl, 1 trafficking coke, and then possession with fentanyl with intent to sell. So then they come pick me up, and, you know, I'm compliant and all this pretty much, and they tell me that I might be out that night because where I done bonded out once, blah, blah, blah. They're kind of full of shit because it was a $20,000 bond. I was in there about 2 days this time until my lawyer got it to $2,500. So then I'm out on $5K total bonds, two $2,500 bonds. Yeah, and I've been fighting this thing for a while, and I feel like it should have been a pretty easy case. Like the rat had like plenty of motivation to stage what he did. You know, there was no evidence beyond reasonable doubt. All this. The main reason I took the plea was I got a third child on the way. I have a boy, a girl, and now this will be my second son and third child. He's due December 24th. So part of the plea agreement, instead of taking the trial, potentially losing and going to jail that day, even though I felt like I had a good chance, my lawyers told me I didn't, but I believed I did. But I ended up taking the plea anyway, the day before trial. I get up to the courthouse. It's like a thick packet he's going over, the plea agreement I had to sign. We're not even to the first page, and now the lawyer, you know, he's sitting there explaining it to me and stuff. Well, the prosecutor comes out the courtroom, and we're in a room right outside the courtroom. He comes in there, like, or don't really come in there, but he's in the hallway. He sees us because the door's open. He's like, "What's taking so long? Y'all need to wrap this up, blah, blah, blah." So my lawyer, like, thumbs through everything and has me sign it. You know, urges me to sign, I'll sign it. Go in. And the whole thing was sentencing would be on the 15th, and then I got till the 29th to turn myself in. At least 2 weeks of surrender, basically. Well, I go to court on the 15th, you know, and I'm going to ask for 2 more weeks. That way I could be there a little bit longer, an additional 2 weeks. So instead of 2 weeks out past sentencing, I would have had 4. That way I could be there for my girl and kids. While she's healing, I can take care of the kids and give her time to heal and stuff before I go in, because I'm going to be in there for a while. Well, he don't even give me a chance to pitch that idea. He takes away the 2 weeks that was on the plea agreement that I signed. Takes it right off the table, tells me I have to be in there this Wednesday, which I think would have been the 17th, about 6 p.m. I whispered to my lawyer, like, should I still pitch? He shakes his head no. I leave. My lawyer went over to the prosecutor, said this is not what we agreed to. The prosecutor said it was. Well, anyway, I had camera crews there. They've been at my house for most of a week recording for this documentary. It's going to be called 7-0. I don't know when it's going to be released, but it's basically a documentary called 7-0, and I'm going to be in it. You know, they were at my house recording me and my girl, my kids. I got my grandma to be in it, all this stuff. And my case is kind of a spin-off of the documentary, too. You know, kind of, it's about 7-0, but it's about drugs in general and stuff. And, well, the camera crew recorded me going in the courthouse and leaving and stuff. Well, anyway, the lawyer ends up calling me later that night, and the camera crew's still in my house. They, you know, and put it on speaker, and the lawyer said, the judge said he doesn't have to, but he's choosing to give you the original 2 weeks of the plea agreement, you know, and saying he don't have to do it, he's choosing to because he cares about his reputation, the reputation of the court, and all this stuff. You know, which, not to bash him, but that sounds like he's basically saying he doesn't have to abide by the law, he's choosing to, which is the case with everybody, you know. But anyway, there's a lot to it, but that's just, you know, a lengthy little rant update for y'all about some of the insight to it. I'll try to make it more clear, and I'll try to actually upload the bye videos. And the plan is for Serena to do some jail calls for y'all, you know, that way I can put it out and just different stuff like that. But yeah, y'all stay blessed, less stress. You already know it.